Andrew? Little too much heat. Oh. We're now live, folks.
All set?
Not quite. Just give me another few seconds.
I didn't get anything from you, Peter.
You should. It's on your town email. It might be slow. It might be slow
Well,
because
just on my phone. Okay.
Okay, we're ready to go, and you are Mayor Eady.
Okay. Well, good evening, everyone.
Your worship.
Ask for the calling of the roll, please.
Thank you. Mayor Eady,
Present.
Reeve Eman,
present.
Councillor Koulis,
Present.
Councillor Evans,
Present.
Councillor Hines,
Present.
Councillor Jamison,
Present.
and Councillor Sydney.
Present.
We do have a quorum, Mayor Eady.
Thank you. A declaration of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof. Okay. Councillor Johnson.
Yep.
Okay, yes, I need to declare a conflict with item number 6B, number 2, the Treasurer O'Reilly's report regarding the loan repayment for the library.
Thank you, and Councillor Jamison has filed the necessary declaration with my office, so thank you for that.
Okay, first motion that Joanne Caldwell, program developer, you heard before council, provide highlights of the recently submitted grant application under the Community Support Multiculturalism and Anti-Racism Incentives Programs Project component. Mover, please. Councillor Sending, second by Revimo. Turn it over to Joanne to give the report.
Thank you. Earlier this month, the Parks and Recreation and Facilities Department completed a grant application under the projects component of the Community Support, Multiculturalism and Anti-Racism Initiative program through Canadian Heritage, a department of the Government of Canada. The objective of the program is to support communities in confronting racism and discrimination, promote intercultural and interfaith understanding, and foster equitable opportunities to participate fully in Canadian society, and to also promote and engage in discussions on multiculturalism, diversity, racism, and religious discrimination. The application, titled Celebrating Diversity in Renfrew, has a planned start date of April 1st and will continue for 1 year under the funding stream if successful. The project has an overall budget of just under $93,000. During the course of the project, the town of Renfrew will lead a variety of initiatives. Through plan development, research, and stakeholder identification, a plan of action will be created. An education and awareness campaign will be delivered to council, staff, and the community at large. Training may include topics such as unconscious bias, intercultural competencies, Indigenous teachings, and other opportunities as determined by community focus groups and/or an ad hoc committee. Through the project, the town of Renfrew aims to work toward the elimination of discrimination, racism, and prejudice, provide opportunities for youth community engagement and involvement, and to work together to build awareness and change attitudes. The town of Renfrew will provide in-kind resources, staff time, and we are thankful to 3 community groups and organizations who have agreed to do the same. We did receive information today stating that due to the pandemic, the government may take longer than the 26-week program service standards, but that our application will be reviewed and given consideration at the earliest possible date.
Okay, any comments? Councillor Hines.
I just have one comment. Just that's a great overview. I'm so glad we're into this. And in regard to the ad hoc committee and the information that was provided, which is coming up, I just think that that report requires a date on it so that we do know in the future when we started into this. But I'm really glad that that this committee is formed and taking the proper steps. And I look to being more informed about certainly about diversity and how we can move forward with it. So thank you for your efforts on that, Joanne, and to Tom and the other folks.
Any other comments? Councillor Sidney, then Revimo.
Yeah, I just first of all want to thank Joanne and the staff at the Recreation Department for putting this together and their initiative for it. Also keeping in mind that this is the beginning steps of hopefully positive change that is coming, and there will be something coming up after Joanne's presentation, so there'll be more comments on that. But I just wanted to commend the Rec Department for taking the lead on this this grant and recognizing that it's much needed, and looking forward to a positive outcome from the grant success, and then moving forward and working with all people that want to be involved and everybody that wants to help move Renfrew forward. So thank you, John.
Revimo.
Yes, thank you. Just to echo that, just so for council's information, Ms. Caldwell approached Kevin, Director Hill, with this opportunity, and then worked over a weekend sending out drafts to get the language just right, and to make sure that we understood the vision that she and the department were putting together on our behalf. And then it matched up with the conversation we'd had in December about this. So thank you to Joanne. You know, I think it's easy for a community to get defensive and to bunker down. But at the same time, I think that approach only leads to looking inward and not making any progress. And you know, and thank you to Kevin and Joanne for listening to what council had said and the community has said, and then providing this opportunity to put our words into action. This certainly makes, this certainly, I think, will give us some credibility in the community. And so thank you to Joanne and to Kevin, and of course to Councillor Sidney. I know that in the chain of emails there were some clarifications sought based on his questions and a couple of my own. So you know, good work. But thank you, Joanne, for spending a whole weekend on it and turning it out.
Any other comments? Okay, hearing none. All in favor? Carried. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, Your Worship.
Yes.
If I could just ask a question. I'm wondering, as part of this ongoing discussion, and through you to Councillor Jameson, is it possible for the agenda for the next administration meeting to have a discussion, if we could provide a sample of a declaration about Indigenous lands? Because that might be something council wants to consider as a recommendation from that committee, you know, as a declaration at the beginning of every council meeting. So I'm just wondering if we could move that forward as well. That's I think a logical first step for us, but it has to, I would think it has to go through a committee. So
Yeah, that sounds good. I agree with that. Sounds good.
thank you.
Okay. The Renfrew Town Council approved the establishment of a diversity ad hoc committee in accordance with the terms and reference presented. Mover, please. Councillor Sidney, seconded by Councillor Jameson. Any questions or comments on this item? Councillor Sidney.
Yeah, I just I think sort of the mandate of this ad hoc committee under the terms of reference, you know, it's being formed to provide direction to the municipality as it addresses racism and discrimination and works towards the promotion of equality and diversity and inclusivity in the town of Renfrew. Specifically, the Diversity Ad Hoc Committee will assess the municipality's Celebrating Diversity in Renfrew plan in relation to the community support, multiculturalism and anti-racism initiative program grant that Joanne was just talking about. Provide input on anti-racism, diversity training and education workshop options, share information and mutual support to the municipality and the community groups interested in that. So basically what this is, you know, the grant that Joanne Caldwell just talked about is fantastic, but due to COVID, and we heard her say that, you know, April was sort of the date that we should be hearing, but it may be longer. Renfrew didn't want to just sit around and wait for a grant. We felt that we needed to continue the momentum, and we believe very strongly in this. So by putting this ad hoc committee together now, that will consist of 3 members of council and 4 members of the community, we believe we can start working, and then this ad hoc committee will probably just morph into what Joanne was talking about as far as other groups and stuff like that. So I want to thank Reeve Emo and Councillor Jameson for willing to be on the committee. The 4 members of the community, we're looking for a diverse group, members of the BIPOC community, the LGBT community, accessibility, anything like that. We're looking for 4 individuals that believe in positive change and working together on educating and transparency. So through the Recreation Department will be the administrative support to the ad hoc committee. So anybody interested can reach out to either Joanne Caldwell at the Rec Department or the Clerk's Department at the Town Hall. That stuff still needs to be sorted out a little bit, but this is something that I'm very proud of, and I'm very glad to see come to council today, and that we're not just sitting and waiting until we hear from a grant, that we can keep this momentum going and show that Renfrew is a community of positive change and inclusivity. So again, thank you to everybody that's involved, and looking forward to this.
Okay, Reeve Emo.
Yes, thank you. I think it's a good step, and the most important piece of it, frankly, is that we're going to hear from the community. I can't pretend to even suggest that I understand this issue in whole, or even probably in part. If you look at my face on the screen, I've had every advantage in life, with the exception of not having any hair. But that's, you know, not to make light of it. I need to hear from people that know more about it than I do. And the only way you're going to hear from them is to ask. And the only way you're going to actually hear from them is to be in the same room, listen to their voice, watch their body language, and ask questions around the stories they tell, and try and figure out better approaches and then model it. So it's a really important step, and I'm glad we're taking it.
Okay, anything else? Just on the lay members, I would presume that you'll advertise them positions, and so that everybody will have a fair idea what's going on. So that'll get into probably our social media plus newspapers or MyFM or whatever.
If I might, Your Worship, yes, I think that's the expectation. I would suspect that the 3 of us will meet very quickly with staff, and put together a recruitment, and I hate to use the word campaign, but a recruitment effort to get some diverse voices at the table.
Okay, I think it's a good step in the right direction to start with. So carry on.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, all in favor? Carried. Okay. So Jenna McEwen, EDO Communications Officer, appear before council, provide an update on the digital training initiative being coordinated by the town to support local business in learning about different components of online marketing and the benefits of having an active online presence. Mover, please. Councillor Jamison, seconded by Reeve Emo. Turn it over to Jennifer, her report.
Okay, so we are a couple weeks in now to the registration process with this. We've gotten some great traction in response to it as far as support from the community. as well as support with our online advertising. However, at this point, we have not met our minimum number of registrants. Unfortunately, we have made it to 6 local individuals and businesses that have put their name on the list. But at this point, we were hoping to make at least 10 to 15, and we're not seeing the enthusiasm that we had hoped for this initiative. So we are still trying. We have actually some local businesses and individuals who have reached out and wanted to sponsor local businesses and pay their way into this training. But we're still struggling to try to meet the minimum at this point. So it's not the good news I was hoping to be able to bring. I was really excited about this initiative and hoping to help our local businesses not only gain more customers during this time, but continue to do so. I'm a firm believer that an online presence can help regardless of the line of work that you're in. And I was really hoping to be able to help some people get past the overwhelming feeling of starting the process. We worked with Tubman Marketing Inc. here in Renfrew in hopes that working with a local company would encourage even more people to come out with this because it's a local face. He's available to talk to people afterwards. And he is incredibly enthusiastic about this. I have another Zoom call with him tomorrow to kind of chat about where registration is at. But at this time, we're hoping to reach the minimum and willing to extend it by a couple days to do so. But that's the point we've made it to at this time.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments on this? Clerk Bulmer, start with.
Yeah, just before maybe Jenna, we turn it over to council, could I get you to just maybe give them council a little bit of an idea of what the training would look like as far as the number of sessions, what the kind of the overall or summary content of those sessions would be?
Yeah, definitely. So Kent and I have sat together and put together a total of 10 sessions for the cost of $100 to local registrants, which is an amazing deal. In these sessions, what it is structured to look like is 5 informational sessions, followed by 5 question and answer interactive sessions with him. So each week he tackles a new topic and he starts basically from the very start to kind of get anybody who isn't familiar with an online presence or might have a very basic one and walk them right through to the creation of a website and e-commerce. So the very first is digital footprint. It kind of gives the basis of the different methods of online presences, what it can do for your company, and basically what it looks like in the different forms that are available. The next one is website basics. So this one gives you different options of programs that are available to build your websites. They go over the different methods of creating ones. He himself obviously is an expert in doing this, so he has a lot of resources that he's able to offer during this and walk people through the processes. The third session is getting started with social media, because surprisingly, a lot of local businesses don't have something as simple as a Facebook page that they're interactive on, and something like that is such an easy way of reaching customers. Instagram, all the different platforms that you have can really help to grow your customer base. And the reason I was so excited about this particular one is there is an antique shop in Arnprior, and they're kind of a basis for a lot of why I wanted to do this, because when the pandemic hit, they had to shut their doors, but they found ways of advertising their products online in interactive, basically garage sales. And they were doing more business than they ever have. And to this day, they're busier than they were before. So it's something as simple as just putting some time into a Facebook page. And that's what I was hoping to deliver with this particular one. So I was excited about it. The next one is email marketing. Just kind of goes over how to get your messages out there to people, possible newsletters and stuff like that, the creation of content that people can read about your products and services. And then he wraps it all up with e-commerce, which basically shows people how to sell their goods online, the different technologies that you can add to your website to enable you to do that. And then in between each of these sessions is a 1-hour Zoom session with him where it's completely interactive with all of the participants. They can talk to each other, they can talk to him, they can ask questions. Included in this, he's also providing all of the participants with complete PDFs of each of the webinars that he hosts so that they have all of the details, all of the information when they come away from each session. And he's also starting a Facebook group so that he can be completely reachable to all of the participants in this so that they can send him questions and chat with each other in between the sessions and continue to help each other going forward. So he's put a lot of time and energy into this. Him and I were both really excited with the final product, and we genuinely felt that there's a lot of people that could benefit. I'm still holding out hope that we'll be able to get people on board. I'm not ready to give up yet because I really do feel like it's a phenomenal program, and the fact that he's right here in Renfrew is a selling feature as well. It's helpful. It's local helping local, which is a really great selling feature for it as well. So still holding out hope.
Okay, now question, Councillor Sidney.
Yeah, first of all, I think it's a great thing. I've been following it along, being on the Renfrew Area Chamber of Commerce. I know we've shared it numerous times, but do you think that it's the cost that's causing a bit of an issue due to people are tightening up the purse strings a little bit because of COVID? And you mentioned that there was some businesses willing to sponsor. I think maybe what I might do from a chamber perspective is reach out to you tomorrow to see how the chamber can push this. And I don't know if anybody's aware that there may be some sponsorships that people will take advantage of that, because right now maybe the cost is, they're trying to deflect their money elsewhere. But, kudos to Kent. Kent's been a vital member of the chamber. He's a great asset to the community and for you and your work doing this. I think it's great. And the businesses would definitely capitalize on the expertise, but somehow we need to get people to the table. And if the chamber can do a little bit more, I'll reach out to you tomorrow at the office and see how we can help get this pushed.
Councillor Hines. And then
Yeah, I'm just wondering, Jenna, if they can contact you directly at the municipal office, first of all. And secondly, this program, would it be good for people that are already into this? I know some of the businesses downtown are already doing some online services. I mean, their doors are shut, but they're in there and doing curbside pickup and such. So just wondered if you could speak to that.
Yes, so this was actually designed so that it would help people at any level, going from people who have nothing to people who are already on there. And I've actually checked out quite a few websites of local businesses, and while they do have a presence, there's always more that they could do. And our hope was that for a fairly low investment in this, and the cost was something that we were concerned about as well with the registration cost. But we were also hoping that if people were willing to pay, it works out to $10 a session, that they will commit to attending them. And our fear was that when you offer something for free, often people don't see as much value in it. So we tried to come up with the lowest cost that would still encourage people to do it. And actually we partnered with Renfrew County Community for Futures Development Corporation. So they've been sharing this as well and have sponsored a donation towards this. And there's a local business who's doing shares on her social media platforms and videos and offering to sponsor, and is actually trying to create kind of a referral on her posts that gets other people to recommend businesses that they feel would benefit from this free registration. So it is definitely geared towards just about anybody. And even if you have somewhat of an online presence, I know that not many local ones actually have an e-commerce site. And one of the lines of thinking was a lot of my impulse purchases come at 9 o'clock at night after I've put my kids to bed, because I don't have a lot of time to go and shop. So it's nice to have something on there that you can offer to people who may not have the time to get out during your business hours. So we're hoping that this is something that businesses can use beyond COVID and help them to be even more accessible to people.
Thank you.
Councillor Jamieson.
Okay, so this is really like, it's really upsetting when, when we can't get the numbers up, but I still think that I think you and I sent you an email a little while ago, and I think that if we were to contact some of the manufacturers, because most of them have continued, are still have been able to work through all of this. And if you were to, have a conversation with somebody there and just ask them if they're a local small business in Renfrew that they would like to sponsor. And that would actually, what that does is that actually gives the big guy a chance to mentor the little guy in a rough time. Because if these small businesses can get through this, and I'm one of those too. So if small businesses can get through this hard time, then it also gives them a feeling of accomplishing it, even though they've had to help. They've had to rely on help because maybe they couldn't afford it, but it also gives them the will to continue and keep working at it because it's going to come around, And I just think between all the different manufacturers that we have in the area, I think we could get that number up there where we need to be. And, this is something between Gail and Tom at the chamber. They can, reach out to the members as well. Like I said, the bigger employers.
Mhm.
It's worth a try.
It is. I'm ready to do just about anything to get the numbers up at this point.
Okay.
Any other comments? Clerk Bulmer.
Thank you. And I just wanted to to make it quite clear that the approximate value based on our minimum of this program is about $400. So it's being heavily subsidized by municipality and its partners and its sponsors. So at $100, it's approximately 25% of what's actually costing to put this program on. Jen has done a tremendous amount of effort in publicizing it. Yes, I guess we can do some outreach. It's going to take considerable efforts to try to connect manufacturers with sponsored businesses, but we can make some efforts and try. But the lack of registrants is by no means because of a lack of getting the word out there. Everyone should know. Everyone, the information's there, and it's just a matter of people taking advantage of it. But it is certainly heavily subsidized at $100 is a heck of a deal.
Okay. Any other comments? Reed Vimo.
Yeah, sorry. And Jenna, just to make sure I'm clear, it's not strictly for owners of the company. If they designate an employee, so there's no confusion. Just so I was pretty sure that wouldn't be a confusing factor, but just to make sure we say that.
Yes, of course. This is open to employees. It might not be the owner of the business that's handling the online presence at that point. It might be one of the employees. So this is open to, definitely anyone.
So if my teenage daughter, who's much smarter than I am, is looking after my social media presence, then I could send her.
Yes, for sure.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, we're hearing nobody. Thank you very much, Jenna. Good presentation. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that the minutes of the regular council meeting held electronically on January 12, 2021 be adopted as printed. Mover, please. Councillor Hines, seconded by Councillor Evans. Any questions or comments on the minutes? Okay, hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Okay. That the communication to the municipality of Clarendon and DAC dated January the 7th, 2021 concerning the continued increase in municipal insurance costs caused in most part by the joint and several liability model be received and endorsed. Mover, please. Councillor Jemison, seconded by Councillor Hines. Any questions or comments on this? Revimo.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I was at Roma this weekend and today virtually, and it was one of the significant topics that was raised in smaller group chats and on the floor. Municipal governments are finding that their insurance is going up 30 to 40% seems to be the almost average, and in some instances 70 and 75%. So very close to double. It's quite concerning when you have an insurance premium that's 5 figures, you know, $55,000 or $60,000 or $40,000, and all of a sudden it goes from 40,000 to 68,000. So those are the kinds of impacts that are being felt across the province. And as always, the insurance industry is a little fluffy on their explanation. They seemingly can't make any money. I find it unusual because I have the feeling there are maybe 3 or 4 insurance groups that control the whole market, and some of them are international. So that would suggest to me there is money in it somewhere. So we are aware of that at Roma, and we have a board meeting for AMO on Friday morning, and that's one of my conversations is to pass that through them to the memo of understanding table with the province. The ministers heard it this week, but we'll keep bringing it forward.
Okay. Anything else? I'm certainly in favor of this motion. That in my 20 years around this, insurance has been a problem from the last 20 years for sure, and probably longer. And it just every year it's a problem. And I think part of it is the judgments that are handed out by, you know, awarded to people. And so I think it needs to be really looked into, and hopefully they'll get a good kickstart to this. And for once and for all, somebody will really look into it and get to the bottom of it. I think government's been pressured on this for forever, and it just seems to come to a wee bit of a head, then it disappears. So hopefully it can carry on this time. Anyway, Rebimo.
Thank you, Your Worship. I should have mentioned one of the comments that was fairly common was that since about 2004 or 5, Roma and AMO and AMCTO have on occasion, probably 5 or 6 times, brought it up with the provincial government, and ministers of the day, whether it's Consumer Affairs or the Solicitor General or whoever, says we're going to look into it. So they go out and they consult with municipalities, and then they consult with trial lawyers, and then they consult with the insurance industry, and all of a sudden, to my judgment, they hide under their desk until they're either in another portfolio, or they end up not running for election. So, you know, they came back to us. The government this time came back to us and said, "Oh, we really want to do joint and several liability." And at this point, I think all 444 municipalities have fatigue because we've made presentations about insurance, you know, I don't know how many times, and there always seems to be lots of conversation. You have something at Roma, then somebody asks a question at AMO, and we're still looking into it. Then all of a sudden the term of government is up and it's a new minister. So I'm hopeful that this minister will be brave enough to get out from under his desk and actually take a stand on it, but we'll wait and see. He says he's interested and he'll get back to us, but we've heard that before. So the whole sector is waiting patiently, but somewhat impatiently.
Okay, anything else? Okay, all in favor? Carried. That the communication from Statistics Canada dated January 13, 2021 concerning the May 2021 census be received. A further Renfrew Town Council supports the 2021 census and encourages all residents to complete their census questionnaire online at www.census.gc.ca. Accurate and complete census data support programs and services that benefit our community. Mover, please. Councillor Koulis, second by Councillor Hines. Any questions on this? Councillor Hines.
Just to comment, Your Worship, I'm hoping this is something that we could put on our monthly communication that goes out to the citizens of Renfrew. I think that that's a very well read document, and I know that Joanne Caldwell puts a lot into putting that together. And I think it would be really great for this to kind of be there, that people know that's coming and how important it is, because it is important for us to have that reflection about what exactly our community is made up of.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? I have one, I'm not sure who could answer this, possibly Clerk Bulmer or Treasurer Riley. But it says Statistics Canada will be hiring approximately 32,000 people to do this census. Has been any indication whether they'd be looking into Renfrew to have people hired here?
Oops. I personally am not aware. I do know they're doing a fairly extensive outreach. I think it's open to everyone. I'm not sure what their geographics are as far as regional hires. I'm certain that there will be a regional collection of people assigned for this area, but I have no details around that other than I've seen it a few times myself in media, and looking for people to submit either for supervisors or for some other types of lead positions to help with the census come May. So if we find some more information, we can certainly try to boost it ourselves in our channels. But
Yep. Anybody else? Any magic answers? Hearing none. All in favor? Carried.
Respectfully, Your Worship, I can give you an answer. I'm not sure it's magic.
Sorry, Preview.
I said respectfully, I can give you an answer, but I'm not sure it's magic.
I'm having a little trouble hearing you tonight. I'm not sure if your computer's maybe not turned up high enough or.
Okay, I'll play with it.
Okay. The Planner Withers report dated January 21st, 2021 concerning site plan approval for 413 O'Brien Road, McDonald's be received. Mover on this, please. Councillor Evans, seconded by Councillor Sidney. Okay. Planner Withers, do you want to give a short report on this? I believe it's been to whatever. Anyway, I'll leave it to you.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor Eadie and members of council. I'll try to keep it short. So this is a pretty straightforward site plan amendment. Appendix B of the report would be page coming up as digitally. If you have a digital agenda, it's page 36 of the agenda. The site plan's provided there. And actually what I may be able to do here, don't know if I have the power, but.
did you wish to screen share, Eric, anything?
Well, that's what I was thinking, Kim.
I'll just allow your screen share if you need to.
All right.
All right. Should work.
Okay. How's that?
Yep.
Everyone see that? All right. So here we go. Here's the McDonald's. You can see the existing in this lighter gray here, the existing layout of the drive-through single lane right here. So they are bumping it out a little bit, double laning it, as with a lot of McDonald's. I think that this location, I think, is pretty late to the party, to be honest with you. But they're going to be increasing the capacity clearly, and the goal here, like what we'd really like to see, is this back up here to O'Brien to not be a thing anymore. Because we have photographic documentation, or Director Aslan getting his coffee in the morning, and he's poking out onto O'Brien Street because they didn't believe us. So we sent them some photographic proof, and it does happen. So hopefully this clears it up. So we've had a couple of back and forths on it. The flow of traffic, these darker dots here, kind of, you can't really see that there's an arrow there, but traffic will generally come down here now, through here, and then up here. And the likelihood of them backing up to this point is probably pretty low. But the majority of the traffic's going to kind of come up the side here. This parking is going to be staff parking only. You can kind of see the paved area here. If I was to zoom in a little bit, you can see that's where it ends right now. Right, so you can just visualize that how it's being extended. So the paved surface itself is kind of getting a little bigger. And so, yeah, just overall improvement, I think, to the parking area. They're going to be opening up this through area here. So this will be an out, this will be an in only. And then if you got to wait for your order, you'll pull around here, you'll pull into here, or you'll come into here if there's someone waiting here already. So those pull forward spots there. So you're not, because currently we understand they're using the Flamingo, and we told them that's got to stop. And then they'll have the mobile order. So nice little improvement to the restaurant. So we're supporting it. We have no issues. It went to committee. We had to work out a few details on the design and engineering, and as it stands, we've got no concerns. So putting the agreement before council, standard site plan agreement. We're revoking the previous agreement that was entered into either in the 80s or 90s when this was first done. And so I'd be happy to take any questions from council.
Okay. You could take that drawing down if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions or comments on this? Okay, hearing none. Revimo.
Thank you. I think it's time. Anybody that travels that corridor, busy times of the day, busy times of the week, there is traffic backed out onto the highway, and it's at some point it's going to cause a problem. And so I'm really glad to see this. And I think, in fairness to them, they probably would like to freshen up their site as well. So it makes a lot of sense, and I'm glad to see it.
Any other comments? Okay, hearing none. All in favor? Carried. Okay. The bylaw 5-2021, being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute the site plan agreement with McDonald's Restaurants of Canada Limited in relation to the property located at 413 O'Brien Road, roll number 4748-000-020-00300, be read a first time and deemed to have been read a second time. Mover, please. Councillor Hines, second by Councillor Sidney. Again, any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Okay, the bylaw 5-2021, being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute a site plan agreement with McDonald's Restaurants of Canada Limited in relation to the property located at 413 O'Brien Road, roll number 4748-000-020-00300, be read a third time and be passed. Mover, please. Councillor Jemison, second by Councillor Hines. Last chance, any questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Okay. That the minutes of the Human Resources Committee meeting held January the 5th, 2021 be received. Mover, please. Revimo, second by Councillor Hines. Turn over to Revimo for the report.
Thank you, Your Worship. On behalf of the Human Resources Committee, I'd like to report to council that we had a meeting on January the 5th. It was an electronic meeting. I'll take you to item number 10, which was new business, and note that we are taking a look at WSIB. At present, we are a Schedule 2 employer, which means we self-assess using their formula, and then create a reserve for what we think is our liability. It seems that we've had some information from our insurer, and so we're going to take a look at what we've received from the insurer because they add to the coverage umbrella for staff should we need it. And we'll take a look at it. We may end up becoming a Schedule 1, or we may stay as a Schedule 2 and find another insurer. So we'll get back to you with that. We moved into a closed meeting to talk about some employment agreements and retirements, and we came back out, and the instruction, as you see, is that we would set up another committee meeting, which we've had, and we needed to receive some advice from Clerk Fulmer, and Mr. Fournier was going to be invited to our next meeting. So that's what I can report to your worship and council.
Okay, any questions or comments on this? Okay, hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Okay. The Treasurer Riley's report dated January the 20th, 2021 concerning a loan and repayment agreement with the Renfrew Public Library Board be received. Mover, please. Councillor Evans, seconded by Councillor Sidney.
If I could just interrupt, I'll just move Councillor Jemison into a waiting room as she's declared a conflict on this matter. Just give me one moment and I'll be right back with you, Councillor Jemison. All right, we should be fine to move ahead.
Treasurer O'Reilly, you'd like to give a short report here?
Thank you, Mayor Eadie. The report before council at this time is the staff recommends a bylaw be adopted to authorize the execution of an agreement with the Renfrew Public Library Board to advance them funds on a temporary basis, and it provides for a repayment schedule. At the December 23rd meeting of the Finance Committee, the chair of the board, Ms. Jane Donnelly, as well as the CEO, Chief Librarian Kelly Thompson, made a presentation to the Finance Committee outlining their plans for the 100th anniversary celebration of the library building during 2021, and also outlined its vision to promote what they're referring to as the birth of a new building with the renewal of the program center, the building that's physically attached to the library with access off of Raglan Street. Basically what the board is looking for is they've had an engineer review the building itself, and his assessment was that the building is structurally sound, but in need of a major renovation to become usable space. And that's exactly what the library board is looking for, is usable space to provide more programming and meeting space and things like that. And what they would like to do is award a contract to an architectural firm to provide drawings, conceptual drawings for the use of the space, and to develop budget estimates for what it would take to convert the current facility into usable space. The cost of the architectural firm services is in the neighborhood of $18,000, and the library board has requested that the town advance them the funds to be repaid over a period of time from their annual fundraising efforts. In speaking with CEO Chief Librarian Thompson, she and I agreed that at this point in time, it's easiest if we kept the annual repayments relatively small. So spreading the loan over 10 years requires annual repayments of $1,800 to repay it. However, there is an agreement between us that if the library has fairly successful fundraising in any given year, that they can pay down the amount of the outstanding balance at any time. The agreement being that they would shorten the term of the loan and not make 3 years payments and then take a 3-year holiday. So it's going to be to shorten down the term of the loan as much as we can. So with that, the agreement there, the document that's attached to the bylaw outlines the loan agreement and a repayment schedule that does call for those payments. And with that, I think that pretty much explains what the report's about at this point in time.
Okay, any questions or comments on this? Councillor Sidney.
Yeah, I think I really hope council supports this. Sitting on the library board, you definitely learn what the library is doing and the vital services they provide to the community and surrounding areas. And I think the drawings are needed in order, because there are grants that are out there for libraries, there are grants out there for historical buildings, but without drawings, it makes it very difficult to apply for those grants. So by being able to do this, the library's vision of moving it forward, expanding programs and services to the community is going to be a great asset to the community. And I think we need to do this. And The library is also a part of the diversity application as well, and will be a vital part of that. So with the 100th anniversary, I know that the idea is to be able to somehow post the drawings up and unveil them maybe in October during library week. But it's something that is definitely needed. It's a great building, but it does need some repairs, and this will definitely go a long way. And I want to thank the Finance Committee and Treasurer Riley for working with the library. I'm confident that it'll be paid back quicker than 10 years, but I appreciate the 10-year term. But yeah, I think it's a vital thing.
Treasurer Riley?
One comment I did omit to make was that the library board did meet last week and they reviewed the draft agreement. And it's my understanding, and perhaps Councillor Sidney can confirm this, that the library board has endorsed or authorized the execution of the agreement pending council approval.
Yes, they did.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Councillor Hines.
Yeah, I just want to say that I'm really pleased with the library board and the chief librarian bringing this forward and looking to just have us advance them that money. And they're so willing to pay it back. They're not coming forward and just asking for the money and saying, well, you know, the town, we're going to do this, so we'd like the town to spot us the money. They're quite happy to enter into an agreement and pay it back. And I really commend them on their efforts to upgrade that building. And as Councillor Sidney said, there are lots of programs that they explained to us that could happen that bring the community together more. So I'm so looking forward to this. What a great opportunity to do something with that building.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Okay. The bylaw 4-2021 being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute an agreement with the Renfrew Public Library Board for the advancement and repayment of monies for architectural design services related to the program center be read a first time and deemed to be read a second time. Over, please. Councillor Hines, second by Reeve Amo. Any questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor? Carried. The bylaw 4-2021 being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute an agreement with the Renfrew Public Library Board for the advancement and repayment of monies for architectural design services related to program center be read a third time and be passed. Mover, please. Councillor Sidney, second by Reeve Amo. Again, any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. I guess you can let Councillor Jemison back in. Comer?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. The Treasurer Riley's report dated January 21st, 2021 concerning allowance for doubtful accounts, taxes, water and wastewater accounts be received. Mover, please. Councillor Evans, second by Councillor Hines. Turn over to Treasurer Riley for the report.
Once again, Your Worship, this report is coming before council tonight. One main reason is that the expenditure, the magnitude of the expenditure being proposed, or the expense being proposed, warrants council consideration because it is an unbudgeted item. This is a very unusual circumstance, and for that reason, I'm bringing it forward at this time. When the Treasury staff starts preparing the year-end, preparing for the year-end audit, we do a review. Well, we do it on a regular basis, but we review the age and collectability of our various accounts, whether they be miscellaneous accounts receivable, recreation accounts receivable, taxes, water, whatever the amounts are owing to the town of Renfrew. We review that in detail and determine the collectability. And we've had a fairly high, I would say an excellent track record in collection of outstanding accounts using the various methods that are available to the town through the Municipal Act, and that includes everything up to and including a tax sale of property for unpaid taxes. What's happened in this case is that we do have a couple of accounts where the businesses are no longer in operation and there are substantial arrears outstanding, and the collectability of them is highly doubtful at this point in time. So I would like to make a provision in the 2020 financials for these amounts. On the first page of my report, you'll see that I'm specifically talking about in the G fund, or the general fund, or the tax fund, it's just over $88,000. On the water fund, it's $77,000, and in the wastewater fund, it's $72,000. The total write-off of $237,000. Now, what I'm proposing is that by doing it through an allowance for doubtful accounts, these accounts aren't actually written off and taken off the books. If I write them off and take them off the books entirely, there's a possibility, well, in that case, there is no possibility of collection whatsoever. The reason I want to leave them on the books but provide for them as being doubtful is that the current status of the large company that accounts for 97.5% of the arrears, its legal status is unknown at this time, whether there has been a formal bankruptcy declared or where it is in that process. So we do still have some options available to us. We have the option to certainly initiate tax sale proceedings and those type of things. So those are decisions that can be made down the road as to whether to initiate tax sale proceedings. Again, that's something that is separate and distinct from this current recommendation. There is an analysis provided in the attachment to my report that shows that this dates back over primarily the last 3 years, with a very little amount from 2017 as well. So this account is one that we've certainly been keeping our eyes on. And basically, municipalities' hands are tied until a company gets a minimum 2 years in arrears, and that's why it's coming forward now. The only other thing I could mention here is that there will be at some future date, once I get the 2020 year-end financials more towards a completed stage for the final audit, I may have to come back to council for a decision as to how to actually finance these expenditures. For example, in the taxation fund, this is going to create an expense of $88,000. We do have a reserve for uncollectible taxes of $103,000, so we could take the money out of the reserve. So there's no net impact on 2020 operations. The same is not true in the water and the wastewater funds. We do not have reserves there for the uncollectability of water or wastewater accounts. So the only option would be to smooth the impact by taking money out of the life cycle reserve there. But that'll be a recommendation that comes forward at a future date. For this evening, I'm seeking council's approval to provide these accounts as being doubtful, which basically is authorizing them to be included as expenses in the 2020 operations of the municipality in the tax fund, the water fund, and the wastewater fund.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments? Councillor Cooless.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Treasurer Riley, did I hear you correctly in saying that there's basically one predominant debtor in that amount?
That is correct. The one account accounts for 97.5% of the total.
Okay, thank you.
There are two, just to supplement that, there are two other very small ones that make up the balance. So there's a total of only 3 accounts.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, there are none. All in favor? Carried. The Renfrew Town Council approved the increase in the allowance for doubtful accounts in the general tax fund and the water wastewater funds set as of December 31st, 2020 to reflect the value of certain accounts that have been identified as uncollectible. Need a mover, please. Councillor Hines, second by Councillor Cooless. Sorry, it was Councillor Evans. Councillor Cooless. Okay, any questions or comments on that? All in favor? Carried. Okay, the Treasurer Riley's report dated January 21st, 2021 concerning dedicated gas tax funds for public transportation program be received. Over, please. Councillor Hines, second by Reeve Immel. Turn it over to Director or Treasurer Riley again for another report.
Once again, Mayor Eadie, this is a fairly standard report that comes forward to council this time of year. We received notification from the Minister of Transportation a week ago of our gas tax funding, dedicated gas tax funding for the 2020-2021 fiscal year, which ends in 2.5 months. The amount that has been allocated to the town of Renfrew is $251,211. And that number is calculated, they basically look at the total ridership of public transportation in the province and the total population of the various municipalities that provide that transportation. The funding for the program comes from 2 cents per liter of gasoline sold in the province of Ontario. So in the current provincial fiscal year of 2020 to 2021, the province is providing $375 million through this program to assist 109 municipalities, one of which is the town of Renfrew. And that's to provide service to 144 communities, which is interesting because our agreement includes the townships of Admaston, Bromley, Vulture Valley, Greater Madawaska, Horton, and Whitewater region. So of the extra 35 municipalities that are used or providing service to, the town of Renfrew is providing 5 of those extra 35 with the agreements we have with those. So those 5 municipalities provide, they pass bylaws as required, and they provide funding, a source of funding to the Sunshine Coach service as well. And that way their population statistics get included in the gas tax calculations. So I have said in the report that the funds, when we receive them, they're held as a deferred revenue amount and are dispersed to the Sunshine Coach service, which provides the accessible transportation services on behalf of the town of Renfrew. That's dispersed to them typically twice a year to reimburse for previous year's expenditures. And those expenditures are defined in the agreement as to what's eligible and what is not eligible. So that is the report. The bylaw is attached, as well as a fairly substantial package that has to be returned to the ministry with signatures once the bylaws have been approved.
Okay, any questions on this? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, the bylaw 7-2021, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a letter of agreement between Her Majesty the Queen and the right of a province of Ontario, represented by Minister of Transportation, Province of Ontario, Town of Renfrew, related to funding provided by the Province of Ontario to the Town of Renfrew under the dedicated gas tax funds for public transportation program, be read a first time and deemed to have been read a second time. Over, please. Councillor Evans, second by Councillor Jamieson. Again, any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. The bylaw 7-2021, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a letter of agreement between Her Majesty the Queen and the right of the Province of Ontario, represented by the Minister of Transportation for the Province of Ontario and the Town of Renfrew, related to funding provided by the Province of Ontario to the Town of Renfrew under the dedicated gas tax funds for public transportation program, be read a third time and be passed. Over, please. Councillor Hines, second by Councillor Evans. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Okay, that the minutes of the Fire and Emergency Management Committee meeting held December 15th, 2020 and January the 19th, 2021 be received. Over, please. Councillor Hines, seconded by Councillor Sidney. Turn it over to Councillor Hines for her report.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. The first minutes are the December 15th minutes of 2020. We had the meeting at 2:30 in the afternoon. It wasn't a very long meeting. We were just wrapping up the year end. So we did, the fire chief did review the summary action report for November. And that was the last meeting for Councillor Koulis and Councillor Sidney on that fire committee. They've now moved on to other committees. And I'm just wondering if there are any questions in regard to the fire department activity report for November. All right, seeing none, I'll move to the first meeting we had for 2021 was January the 19th. And if you are interested in attending the meeting, you just need to either contact the chief or the clerk's department and they'll set you up on the Zoom. We are still doing electronic meetings, and I will note to you that our meeting time has changed to 2 o'clock as opposed to 2:30. We received the minutes from December 15th that we just reviewed, and then the chief reviewed the let's just a second here, reviewed the December activity report. And if you'll take a look at that, it is on page 4 of 4 of this of these minutes. And just a little highlight there that at year end we had 45 recreational open air burn permits issued and sold. So folks will be able to again start that process of calling the fire department and getting that permit in place for their summer burning, or as soon as they can burn now, as long as they're within the criteria of the bylaw. Also under new and unfinished business, and again, this was the first meeting for Reeve Emo and Councillor Jameson. So the chief did go through the activity report in a fair bit of detail in regard to the topics that we capture, what the event was and what it exactly relates to. And of course, the activities being training and vehicle repair, COVID cleaning, air and water sales, snow removal, those types of things that the fire department does look after. And when it comes to snow removal, I don't want to mislead anybody. They do look after clearing their own yard and driveway at the fire hall. Under new and unfinished business, we had a great meeting. We are going to put back on our agenda the priorities for 2021 so that we can relate to the items such as keeping up to date on the new pumper and the 100th anniversary celebration of the fire hall. And you'll be seeing that in minutes coming forward in the next couple of months. Reeve Emo also inquired about employee utilization of the wellness program, and we're doing a little bit of work on that. We do have a wellness program for some of the employees with the town of Renfrew, and it's just important to keep a good eye on that, that people who do require that are using that, and if it's not in use, why not? And so that we can make sure we're getting what we need out of that program. We also talked about training for the various activities that some of the firefighters or that the firefighters participate in and help with when it comes to lifting folks out of situations, and they provide some help to other agencies when people have to be moved. And so we just wanted to follow up on that. And the committee was actually, the training committee was meeting that Friday after, and the chief will be bringing information to our next meeting in regard to that. We talked about creating a fire master plan, and we, thanks to Reeve Emo, he provided several examples from other communities. So again, we'll have a look at that. We're not interested in spending big time bucks on that, but we do think it's important to address that and kind of look to the future and see what we do need and what we might need. And there was also a good conversation in regard to recruitment, and the chief is going to bring a draft of what that recruitment process might look like to our February meeting so that we can toss that about. We have had one volunteer firefighter retire or move on to another opportunity that he had. And so that sparked that conversation. So that was all. Our next meeting is slated for February the 16th, again at 2 o'clock. If you're interested in attending, please let the fire chief know, or of course Balmer know that, and he'll certainly get you in on the Zoom meeting. Any questions in regard to the activity report or the agenda items?
Okay. Hearing none. All in favor? Carried.
Thank you.
Okay. Let the minutes of the Parks, Recreation and Facilities Committee meeting held on January the 19th, 2021 be received. Over, please. Councillor Sidney, second by Councillor Koulis. Turn over to Councillor Sidney for the report.
Thank you very much, Mayor. So this is from Tuesday, January 19th, 2021. All members of the committee were present. I'm just going to go down to 7.1, and there is a misspelling in that will be corrected. But we were approached by the Woodchucks Carving Club, Clutch, to use the one of the rooms at the rec center for free of charge due to COVID. We do recommend to council that we approve that for the short term. Once COVID restrictions are lifted, and they're allowed back into the building. Down to reports, Director Hill gave us updates on the summer day camp of 2020 and what happened and how it went, and any things that they want to change for next year. Keeping in mind that we were in the middle of the COVID pandemic during that time, so lots was learned. There will be changes coming in this year if it's allowed to happen. And I just want to commend all the staff and the summer students for being very accommodating to the way that things had to change due to COVID, and everything went very well considering. But kudos to them. As well as we received a report on Music in the Park 2020 and the changes that they'd like to implement for 2021, and the summer day camps and the Music in the Park. Staff are going ahead and planning and preparing for that, as well as preparing for should the COVID restrictions still come into play and how that all going to work out. But they are definitely working on that as well. The non-resident user agreements, Director Hill's bringing that to everybody's attention after this, so I'll just leave that for him. Under unfinished business, our committee priorities, the operating budget is with the Treasury Department. And we did discuss the, and I think it's really important to note that the staff has taken it to move the ice oval that was back where the Bluegrass Festival was last year, to move it over to where the track is around the football field this year. They've done a tremendous job with that. I notice I keep seeing on social media the amount of people that are using it, and the videos that are being shared and stuff talking about, being with their family and being able to go outdoors. And because it is such a unique draw that the town of Renfrew has undertaken, one of the things we are looking at is maybe a little bit increased in the budget to make it, enhance it, and make it even more spectacular in the following years to come. And if there's any other questions, the Mattaway expansion project, we continue to wait. I honestly believe Director Hill does not sleep, and he sits by his phone and his email 24 hours a day waiting to hear anything. But that will come to council as soon as we are more informed as to where we're at with that. I'll take any questions you'd like.
Councillor Hines.
Just a couple of questions. When you talk about Music in the Park for 2020, and maybe this is not a fair question to you and you could bring it back if you don't have the answer. When you talk about the committee and George's suggestions or changes for 2021, can you highlight any of those, or what? I thought it went fairly well, and I appreciate the staff's time and looking at how they might even make it better, but
actually, the director, I'll just add something if Director Hill wants to add into it as well. They are looking at entertainment in July and August, 9 shows. They'll be calling out to performers and musicians in January. I believe they've already started that to secure quality entertainment. One of the things is the museum was not open, which made no use for washrooms.
Okay.
And there was no refreshments either. So I think those were two things that were the feedbacks that we received was, are we looking at the museum being open depending on COVID? Do we get a portable washroom or anything like that? So the staff are just looking at what the feedback was from the people that participated and trying to entertain those if COVID allows it and stuff like that. Director Hill can add to that if he wishes.
Did you have anything to add to that, Director Hill?
Nothing at all. That was well covered by Chair Sydney.
All right, thank you on that. So just the other comment would be in regard to the ice oval. It is so awesome. I can't believe the pictures that I see of it, and it's just people are very excited of it. So thank you to you, Chair Sydney, for being innovative to get that going last year, and the staff out there, and now moving it there where there is light provided. And I just have a question in regard to the operation of it. And this is just basically for the information of the general public, the times on it, and in regard to hockey sticks and such. And then I was just wondering if Director Hill could comment on the availability of any skate sharpening. I've had that question a couple of times. So anyway, I say kudos to you guys for getting that going when COVID is such a rough time for everybody, but just to get out there and even go and watch people skate around, it's pretty awesome. So kudos to you.
Oops, sorry, Tom.
No, I was gonna just turn it over to you because those are more operational questions for you.
The skate sharpening is still taking place on Wednesdays and Saturdays. So we have hours posted at the skating oval for those that wish to have their skate sharpened. But I do know that the guys are taking skates and just leaving them for the staff to sharpen on Wednesdays and Saturday afternoons.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
And just in regard to the hours of operation of the oval and with the hockey sticks, etc., I just think it's important to get that information out there again. I know you've had several communications about that, but it would be great to just say that live tonight.
My apologies.
No problem.
We have had to reduce the hours. We were open 9 till 9. We're now open 9 till 8. There is absolutely no pucks or sticks allowed on the oval. We do have skating aids there for the young to enjoy, with staff cleaning those after each use. So we're making every effort to clean them after each use. So there is no sticks, pucks, or nets. It would be quite a breakaway if we did have them, but there's none of those allowed as per the provincial order.
Okay, thank you so much for all that information. And again, what a great project.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Okay. The Director Hill's report dated January 21st, 2021 concerning non-resident user fee agreements with neighboring municipalities to be received. Over, please. Councillor Evans, seconded by Councillor Jemison. Turn it over to Director Hill for his report.
I'd like to highlight a couple of areas within the report. I think it's clear to identify the current bylaws that the town has in place with our neighboring municipalities. One of the bylaws has not expired, that with Greater Madawaska, but we have expressed to them that we'd like all of the non-resident user agreements to start and end at the same time. So we're not dealing with them at different times. The process that we went through this time has taken a little longer, and I apologize for that. But I did have the opportunity, as directed by the rec committee, to go out and meet with each of our neighboring municipalities, present to either their council and or their rec committees to express our rationale of how we came up with the proposed rates for the next 5-year term. I believe it was well received. Of course, when you look to increase rates, there's many questions, which I believe we were able to address with a number of the neighboring rec committees. But we have presented a what I feel and what the rec committee feels is a fair proposal to each of our neighbors. And there is one glitch in the bylaw that was sent out. And I would ask that Clerk Ballmer, because if he could put it up on screen share, the proposed fee schedules are really the only difference or change in the agreements. And the only difference is the fee schedule, and it was all based on the 5-year average of users from each of the neighboring municipalities over the past 5-year term. So we've come up with a fee schedule. It was brought back on question of a couple of the neighboring municipalities based on the COVID shutdown in 2020. So I did approach the rec committee. The recommendation because we were shut down for 7 months, the recommendation to cut the fees in half for 2020, which would be paid for in 2021, that has occurred. So as you can see, the rate for Admaston, I use them as an example, for 2019 was $20,900. It was to be $22,600 in 2021, the payment, but due to COVID, we've cut that in half, and then we get back on track in 2020, 2022 payment, 2023 payment, 2024 payment. I will draw to your attention that each of our neighboring municipalities are 1 year behind in paying for the services, as it has always occurred. And again, by passing the bylaw tonight, each of the municipalities, actually, to be honest, I've received 2 of the agreements already back from these municipalities that I sent out. So passing the bylaw tonight will secure us a 5-year commitment from our neighboring municipalities and have a clear revenue source for the next 5 years or 4 years, sorry, for the recreation user fees agreements. Thanks, Kim.
If you could take that slide down, I appreciate it. Great, thank you. Any questions or comments on this? Okay, I would have to say, Director Hill, thank you very much for this. Of course, you know, I've been on the other side of the table when the negotiations go on, and it takes a little time. So good job. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay. The bylaw 6-2021 being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute an agreement with the Township of Admaston Bromley, Township of Horton, Township of Greater Madawaska, Township of McNabb Braeside, respecting the provision of recreation services for the period from January 1st, 2019 to December 31st, 2023. You read it first time and been deemed to have been read a second time. Mover, please. Councillor Jamieson, second by Councillor Colas. Got any questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor? Carried. The bylaw 6-2021 being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute an agreement with the Township of Admaston Bromley, Township of Horton, Township of Greater Madawaska, and Township of McNabb Braeside, respecting the provision of recreation services for the period from January 1st, 2019 to December 31st, 2023. You read a third time and be passed. Mover, please. BBMO, second by Councillor Sidney. Again, any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Okay, thank you. That the minutes of the Waste Management Committee meeting held January the 11th, 2021 be received. Mover, please. Revimo, second by Councillor Evans. Turn it over to Revimo for the report.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to council, I can report that the Waste Management Committee met on January the 11th at 3 p.m. via Zoom. And I'll move you through to item number 8 on page 2. Item number 8.1 talks about lost revenue, approximately 133,000. And so we're going to check to see if it's revenue that we can recover through the COVID funding. For 2021, we're going to be presenting a fairly conservative revenue estimate of 420,000. And you'll see that in the budget. Northern Bulk completed grinding, and we will be looking to add other materials. And Golder completed the annual contour survey, so that tells us what the capacity is that's been used up in 2020, and so we'll have an estimate going forward as to what is left. And also make sure that we stay within the limits of the cell that we're in and the burying platform that we have. And so then 8.2 is the recycling collection. Price Waterhouse was in to complete their data call, and we should hear in our next report the results of that. And food cycler update, again, we're just trying to get that organized. We'll get back to you on that. Bylaw enforcement 9.3 on multi-residential units, and you'll notice that was one of our priorities going forward. It's been a struggle, not a significant struggle. I think it's an education issue, and also making sure we have the proper equipment for the multi-res. We're working towards sorting that out. We're going to review the bylaw, and we're starting off with some written notice to all the property owners. The bylaw, and I can't remember the section, but one of the sections, it doesn't really define who should be putting out the waste. So we'd like to probably add the word agent as well as owner to the bylaw. So there's a few things. We've got a drawer with some points that we want to review in the future, and we'll do that. So then 9.4, our annual review, we went through it, and you see it's attached at the end of council. You'll see our annual report from 2020 of what we've accomplished. Our financial summary, 9.5. Again, just talks about it. Councillor Evans is to meet with staff to review the financials. And landscaping, we just had a quick conversation about tidying up and I think I reported that verbally at the last meeting, just to tidy up the entrance off Bruce Street. So staff will take a look at that on our behalf and get back to us. And with that, Your Worship, that's what I can report on behalf of the committee.
Okay, any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay. That the minutes of the Development and Works Committee meeting held January 12, 2021 be received. Mover, please. Councillor Coolidge, second by Councillor Sidney. Turn over to Councillor Coolidge for his report.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple of highlights. Received a letter of concern from a resident on Otter Ridge concerning the excessive traffic and speed on Otter Ridge, and it was thought to be a shortcut being used by a lot of people off the end of Hall Avenue. We will recall that about 4 years ago we did study this area and an extension to Hall Avenue that would circle around the north side of Otter Ridge, and that is still in our 10-year master plan and budgeted for. Of course, the developer has to complete their portion of the project before we do ours. And that will probably eliminate a lot of the excessive traffic. There's not much we can do with people that take a different route to go to the local box stores out in that area. The OPP has been notified. They have in subsequent, we will deal with this in subsequent meetings, but they have collected data that doesn't reflect much in the way of speeding, really. Although sometimes it can be perceived that way. We have instructed staff at the committee level to verbally respond to the residents that we are still looking into this and into the data as well. Building report was looked at for the calendar year 2020. It ended at just a little over $11 million in construction value in Renfrew. It's up 10% from 2019, second highest overall construction value since 2009. These December totals also included some of the underground and superstructure permits for the Lapine development. The annual report fulfills obligations of the Building Code Act. This is for the annual building report that requires municipalities to publish an annual report illustrating that the building permit fees collected correspond with the amount of development that was completed in the town. Historically, the town of Renfrew has run a deficit within the building department. We're making strides to close that gap, of course, with some adjustments to those fees that we collect. And once we do, and we hope to collect fees that exceed the expenditures, we will then create a reserve fund so that in subsequent years when we experience downturns, that we will be able to sustain ourselves with those funds. We went through updates on major construction projects throughout the town. You'll see that in the report. I'm not going to go through every one of them. I will bring your attention to the downtown Raglan Street South deficiencies, and that we did detect a further issue with a potential blocked storm sewer. I'll spit that out. Causing some water leakage into one of the retail businesses on Raglan Street. We are in the process of investigating that further, and once we get some construction weather, we will repair that at very likely the contractor's expense. Swinging Bridge, we've discussed that in previous council meetings concerning the repairs we've already experienced at $45,000 to that bridge to repair pier caps and so on that have been damaged by woodpeckers. There is a major rehabilitation that's recommended, and we're hoping that we can get that money through a resilience funding, a COVID resilience funding program. We submitted an application for that in December, and we're hoping to hear about that in the spring of the year to move forward with the complete rehabilitation of that bridge sometime in the fall of this year, September to December. And it will at that time be required to be closed for probably a couple of months. Might become a bit of a problem with construction on Stewart. We'll have to watch that very closely because of foot traffic on both those arteries serving the north part of town. We also, as a committee, reviewed the capital project considerations. We have identified a few projects, obviously, but it's the availability of funds that will determine what we can and can't do moving forward this year. We did some some geotechnical reports on the area that borders Mattaway Park Drive, Vimy Boulevard on the east. On the south side, that's Hague, and on the north side, it's Joffrey. So it's a big H in there of streets that we need to address. And we did do this study to ultimately find out that there's very poor conditions underneath the asphalt, very poor. There's really no base layers there. They're insufficient to do anything with. So we're recommending a full depth reconstruction of those streets. That's very likely in the area of a $2 million job that we will not get much in the way of grants for, of course. So we're hoping to be able to do some of the geotechnical stuff, the design and so on in 21, and possibly complete them streets in 22. We did put in our application for our O'Brien Road Connecting Link intake 6. We did take a look at the infrastructure in the town. Many roads, of course, have been identified as being in fair to poor condition. We all know that. Those that are listening or watching are as much aware of that as anybody, probably even more than we are, because they drive them every day. Funding opportunities, we believe, in the future will be decreased because a lot of money, as you know, is being spent on COVID. And some of these projects may look pretty simple to the uneducated in this field people, but the underground work and so on is the expense of these projects. And if you want them to last, you need to do them right. So we're going to try our best to do a priority list of the streets and sidewalks in Renfrew that require our attention as soon as possible, going into the spring of this year and in the years to follow. That's our focus. We can't let up anytime soon. We need to keep going because there are a lot of streets, and I don't need to start naming them because you already know what they are. We dealt with and discussed at length the sidewalk plowing and sanding and salting and so on that we discuss every year at this time. We had a look at the map that shows where Public Works does clear sidewalks, where they do plow them, sand them, salt them, ones that they don't, and the reasons why. Some, that are adjacent to schools and healthcare facilities and that sort of thing, and major arteries. So we did discuss that. As reported in the last council meeting, what's the terminology I'm looking for? The level of service that we provide in snow removal and salting in this town is above the provincial standards by quite a piece. But then again, it's one of those situations where the more you do, the more you're expected to do. And we're trying really hard to satisfy everybody. And of course that's impossible, but we're working real hard at it. You can believe that for sure. The only other thing we did discuss at any length was the new site where we will eventually someday build a new town garage facility. We did talk about production of this building to suit a couple of tenants, namely, the Sunshine Coach or Renfrew Hydro, or some of these places that these facilities that use that are fairly well known in Renfrew and are currently, most of them, paying rent someplace. But it was decided that we would focus mainly on just building a facility to do the job for the Public Works Department at the least amount of expenditure. So that's where we are at this time. We're not looking for the Taj Mahal or anything of that sort. Asset management was discussed. The town was also awarded a $50,000 funding and aid to the cost of completing an asset management plan. We have an extension on our drinking water license to the end of March. We need to get that finalized, and we will in the next few weeks. And that's pretty much it. Anything else that's on this is pretty much repetitive. And I'm available to try and answer what I can.
Any questions, council? Okay. Hearing none. All in favor?
Good report.
Carried. Rubimo, did you have something?
Yes, your worship, just very quickly, when I was going through it, I noticed some of the potential projects are contingent on funding. I can report that Premier Ford on Monday morning at Roma announced that there is $200 million added to the OCIF fund for this year. That's apparently new money. The expectation is it will be supportive of 424 rural and northern Ontario small municipalities. So I would assume we fit that criteria. So we're told that program information should be rolled out within the next 30 to 35 to 50 days. So basically a month and a half, maybe 2 months at the longest. You may want to keep an eye on it. And it seems to be a funding source. I would suggest it's likely similar to what OCIF has been in the past in terms of the terms and conditions. So that you may want to consider ghosting an application just to get ready for it, because I think the timelines will be pretty short. There is some anxiety about getting the money out quickly so that it can be used during this construction season.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor? Oh, we already did that. Right.
Yeah.
We're done that. Okay. The director asks us report dated January the 21st, 2021 concerning Chief Building Official Greater Madawaska be received. Over, please. Councillor Kula, second by Councillor Sidney. Turn it over to Director Asselin for the report.
Thank you, Mayor Eadie, to council through the mayor. We did receive a request from the Township of Greater Madawaska. I guess they are undertaking a project in their community, a hydro project that is classified as a complex structure. And being a rural municipality, their CBOs are qualified for Part 9 work, and they require somebody with higher qualifications to serve as the inspector and do the work on this particular project. So there's been a lot of discussion about trying to utilize our staff outside of our boundaries to assist local municipalities. In this particular case, it's a one-off project, and we did look at it. Some of the terms generally are that they would have to have our CBO designated as an inspector in their municipality just to meet the requirements of the Building Code Act. We would be doing it on a cost recovery basis. So whenever our staff member is working for another municipality, in Greater Madawaska in this case, that we would recover the cost of that service from that municipality. And as well, any errors and emissions insurance would be the responsibility of Greater Madawaska. So it seems to be maybe one of the first kind of sharing of staff members, somewhat for a specific project. I think it's a good idea, and it helps reduce our cost. As was reported earlier, we have run deficits in the cost of providing building services in Renfrew just due to the volume not being quite enough to offset our costs. So this will assist in offsetting our cost. And the Greater Madawaska has reviewed the general terms and have no issues whatsoever with the terms presented in this report. So we're bringing it forward to council, to have one of our staff members work on a project in the township of Greater Madawaska so they can benefit from the complex designations of our CBO. I'm not sure if you have any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Vivimo.
Yeah, thank you. It's a question and a compliment. First of all, I really like this. I'm glad to see it. I think I've been worried since the leg report came out that everybody's going to sit on their hands and hope somebody made the first move. So I'm glad that we're part of the first move and it sets an example. And this is just a general question, but when we enter into these arrangements, whether they're short-term or long-term, are we going to have some kind of an exit review? Just because I think we may need to reset a little bit, because I think we almost have to consider it as a client relationship and serving an account, as opposed to doing a favor one-off for a neighbor. Because if we enter it with a client and an account attitude or review, then I think that allows us to expand with this department and other departments in the future. But it'll also help us know what we're doing. So I'm just wondering if that's been any consideration when the committee was going through their deliberations.
I can say that certainly I think this could sort of serve as an introduction to a template that might very well be used. It's likely through this and other similar arrangements that might come forth, perhaps an agreement, a more solidified agreement that's reviewed by our solicitor and the other municipality solicitors, probably appropriate. An exit interview is certainly good. You'll see the last bullet in the report is the arrangement can be terminated by either municipality by communicating to the Director of Development Works or the CAO, the Greater Madawaska, if things aren't working out. But the building officials in Renfrew County, they communicate quite a bit as a group, and they're all working together. And they have been sort of similar to the recreation departments do the same thing, finance departments, development works departments. So this is just maybe providing greater or better access to the staff of each municipality for others. We were careful not to open this up at this time to be a blanket kind of staff sharing. But just more of a beginning to the discussion, and certainly there's lots of room to expand on the services.
Okay, referring to the leg group, there's been a number of suggestions come from that, and some that Renfrew is already doing. In other words, maintaining roads that are adjacent to a municipality. We already do that in conjunction with the county of Renfrew. That's been going on for a good number of years. Secondly, out of the leg group, there was a suggestion on joint purchasing, and I believe Director Aston, if you want to expand on this, but we purchase our salt in a different way now, saving us quite a lot of money. And here we are, the CBO right now. Treasurer Riley putting together agreements, user fee agreements with adjacent municipalities. So we're already doing some of the things, and maybe there's going to be more to come for sure.
Yes, and we could certainly add the waste management onto that. There's been a very cooperative effort across municipalities to work on waste collection and recycling collection, and so there's been a lot of work through the years that have led to good relationships between the municipalities. In this age, I think all municipalities have to be more efficient and try to optimize and be more efficient than they have been.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Coolidge.
I would like to have my mind put to ease in that I have some pretty strong recollections of a shared working relationship we had a couple of years ago with, I believe, Whitewater, when we shared our fire chief services, and what a mess that turned out to be financially for the town of Renfrew and the person involved. And not to bring up old haunts, but that comes to mind immediately when I hear of these relationships, and I just want to make darn sure we're not going to end up in another one of those. I'd like to be put to I'd like that to be put to rest.
I'm not certain of the particular issues you're speaking of, but perhaps another member of senior management might be familiar with it.
I think that all worked out in the end all right. It was just a little glitch in the time it took to get payment from the municipality. I think that was maybe the hold up there, but I think it turned out okay in the long run. Everything seemed okay.
Yeah. All right. As long as it's
Any other questions or comments? None. All in favor? All right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the Renfrew Town Council support and endorse the Renfrew Chief Building Official CBO assisting Township of Greater Madawaska GM with the revision of building services on a cost recovery basis. Over, please. Emo, second by Councillor Hines. And any questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor? Carried. That the 2020 Waste Management Annual Report be received. Over, please. Emo, second by Councillor Sidney. Again, I guess we'll be looking at Director Asplund to give this report, Emo.
Certainly, if he feels he, yes.
Hey, thank you. Just a brief report. I think it was alluded to in the waste management minutes quite well. They touched on a number of items. The Renfrew landfill site is an important infrastructure, and the objective in operating the landfill site is to maximize the site life. This year, because of COVID, the landfill site was closed on March 17th. And then was reopened to the public on May 12th, 2020. Of course, we were still receiving the waste from our collection programs and contractors that needed to get into the site. The town currently holds a number of waste management contracts, being a 5-year curbside garbage collection contract with TOPS, the 3-year recycling contract, collection with TOPS, as well as the processing with Amterra, who purchased the recycling facility from Bowman, and they're making a good go of it. And this recycling has been a partnership with Arnprior, McNabb Braeside, and Renfrew. I think what's important is the ministry is heading towards full producer responsibility in having the recycling programs and processing turned over to the producers of waste, and the province is looking at a transition. So amongst our 3 partners, some partners are getting a transition date of 2023, and others are being, like Renfrew is being proposed to transition in 2025. So there has been some communication to the province about recognizing this partnership that the municipalities have been working together on recycling, and we should transition at the same time, just so there's no significant impacts to our recycling contracts, and as well to provide consistent levels of service. So the next step, that in 2021, the committee will continue to focus its efforts on a few priorities. Recycling is a big one. Develop that transition plan for full producer responsibility. Multi-residential garbage collection programs in a lot of the larger apartment buildings. There's probably better ways to manage the waste and the recycling programs at those facilities, as well as expanding services at the landfill, including a reuse center, continued building improvements on the buildings that are on site, and do a phase 5 development plan on how we're going to access the next phase of the landfill site that will serve well into the future of Renfrew. And as well, continue to grind more materials, as was mentioned. So that's pretty much a summary of the Waste Management Annual Report. I know this is the second annual report that's been prepared, and I think provides a good summary of the activities of the committee and the staff working on it. So they're doing a great job in advancing the interests of the community in waste management.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Remo.
Yes, thank you. As Director Asselin has said, the department is doing a great job with it. Again, it's their second year of operation, and we're really fortunate with the staff we have at the landfill and in the office here at the town that manage the facility. I can report I chaired a panel today on waste management, Blue Box transition to full producer responsibility. There were 128 municipalities participated in the question and answer after the presentation. Lots of questions. We had a lot of good answers today, actually, from the panelists. Minister Yurek did confirm today that the draft regulations will be finalized and the final regulations will be released on or about the middle of February. He also said the timelines are firm. COVID will not interfere with the transition. It will happen between 2023 and 2025. So those were the two significant statements. He made a bunch of other statements as well. And just in the process of reading through them again to make sure that we understand all the same language. But he was quite adamant. I tend to believe him. He wants to turn the present system on its ear, and he is of the opinion it'll be better for municipalities at the end of the day. He did mention it'll be a consistent product line that's recycled across Ontario. So you can leave Halton Hills, you can leave Renfrew, you can go to Thunder Bay, you can go to your camp north of Thunder Bay, and even if it's a rural depot after 2025 into 2026, all the products will be the same unless you want more. If you want more, you pay more. So that's the good news. So we'll wait and see, but it still seems to be on target, and we're just waiting for it.
Okay, any other questions? Okay. Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. That the 2020 annual report on building permit fees be received. Mover, please. Councillor Evans, second by Councillor Hines. Turn it over to Director Asselin for this report.
Yes, so this report, as it was mentioned in the Development Works minutes, there's a requirement under the Building Code Act to report and be transparent on the fees that are being collected for building permits, as well as the value of the construction. So this report summarizes the activity from 2016 to 2020. And so we see a rising construction value, which is positive. I think as we get into larger projects like the Lapine developments and hospital expansions, that will significantly impact the construction dollars that transpire each year. I think maybe a small difference between previous years and 2020 was a different model in the way we calculate the building permit fees. It's more on a per square foot and type of dwelling basis now, as opposed to the reported construction value. So that's tended to kind of increase the permit fees being generated and be more consistent from building to building. So there's a summary of the different types of permits that have been issued through the years 2016 to 2020. So I think the report is fairly self-explanatory. It does show on the building permit fee, our expenses are slightly higher than our revenues by nearly $10,000. And part of the expenses include some of the office, the town hall building itself, and some of the expenses associated with operating the town hall. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Councillor Hines.
I don't necessarily have a question. I have more of a comment that I do really appreciate these annual reports from both of these areas, both waste management and the building permit, and where we're going in the future. Because I think that when we go to make decisions on what we need to do, then we have all of this, a summary of where we've come from and where we want to go. So I just want to say thank you for your time and staff's time in putting this together. I think it's a really good document that we can refer back to from time to time. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate your explanation of both of those reports.
Okay. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Okay, is there any new or unfinished business? Okay, nothing tonight? Okay, then. Next motion, the Renfrew Town Council convene in closed session for the following matter pursuant to section 239 Municipal Act 2001, pursuant to section 239 2B of Municipal Act, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, more specifically to discuss an early retirement incentive. Need a mover, please. Rebimo, seconded by Councillor Hines. All in favor? We're now in closed session, and I would say to Clerk Bulmer, I'll leave it to you to